Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 271. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and also on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. With us tonight we have Alistair Loxton. Alistair is based in the Asia Pacific. I've lost my link. Here we are. He's been at the forefront of digital marketing since the late 90s. He's launched, managed and consulted to hundreds of companies around the world. He's currently focusing on the travel sector. All right. David Rozam. He is the oldest man in SEO.
Apart from one notable exception, no names. Jim.
David is a copywriter for 30 odd years, and he's now an internet marketer. He's evolved into. You can find David at writingforseo.org. You could probably contact Alistair via Ministry of Villas. So if you Google Ministry of Villas, I'm sure you'll find him. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. And Tim Capper is CEO of onlineownership.com. And Tim is proud to call himself an SEO, and he is based in Corby, north of London. As I said, you can find Tim at Online Ownership. He's also a top contributor in the Google My Business community. All right, let's get cracking. This one from Jason Hyingchul Kang. It's titled Doorway and Orphan Pages. He said, "Hi, I'm not exactly familiar with what doorway and orphan pages are. Can somebody please explain how to identify them?"
So an orphan page literally is something that you just pretty much forgotten about. It's orphan. It's not in a structure. So, for example, quickest way is let's say you've got a restaurant, right? And in your top line navigation, you've got your special offers. And then you've got menu. In the menu, let's say you've created dinner menu, so it would be /menu /dinner menu /menu /lunch menu, but you've actually forgotten to include them in the navigation itself. So they do exist, they're just not in any navigation, and they may, depending on the CMS, may not even be included in the sitemap. Therefore, the page exists, but it's technically an orphan. It's not visible anywhere or reachable anywhere. On the flip side, a doorway page. A doorway page is something where typically you see. You typically see it like, let's say, a locksmith or electricians or plumbers, and they want to create multiple location pages for, every single possible conceivable location, and they just literally, they're almost boilerplate the same, in the hopes of actually appearing somewhere for that particular location and search electrician in, you know. That's typically referred to as a doorway page, because, you know, it doesn't have any typical value to the site or a business, and its sole purpose is just trying to get people in. The other flip side, on a commercial side, doorway page would be also, for example, if you created a, let's say you sell shoes, and then you created a singular page or single site for red shoes, red/brand.shoes. It's intended just to appear in search for the red brand or type of brand of shoes, and the only sole purpose is to then funnel you directly back to your site. So a doorway page is essentially something that has no value other than, you know, funneling someone back to the actual site, when the actual site should be doing the job, and you should be working with that and increasing. This is just like a short, you know, it's, well, I wouldn't say it's black hat, I wouldn't say it's grey hat. It's just, you know, someone trying to funnel something, you know, from a page that's solely intended to funnel you to another thing. The other thing is affiliate sites also similarly do, you know, you could do that theoretically with your money site, and then create hundreds and hundreds of little affiliate sites, all linked with the sole purpose of ranking for a specific term, just to send them back to you, just to your site. So that would be like a doorway page. So there's different sort of versions.
Thank you, Tim. Unless anybody would like to add something to it, I think we can call that an answer. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Maria Patterson, a hreflang question. How to advise Google to serve .us for the USA and .com everywhere else? Maybe not a hreflang.
So this is implementing your hreflang. So look, sometimes, and this is not, you just remember, hreflang is a suggestion, it's not a command, and Google doesn't have to necessarily respect what you want to show as for the .us only to the, you know, to the US, and .com to other English language. So the point here, and you're going to have a little bit of difficulty, because you essentially, you know, with hreflang, you generally essentially say whether it's English in hreflang. Now, these are typically both in English. And then you can then split out things to say country. So you would say in your hreflang domain name US, saying, you know, English US. But now you're going to fall into a bit of another trick, where domain name.com, just English. You're not specifying a country then. So for example, if you had, it would work better, for example, if you had hreflang for domain name.us and just saying English, but leaving out the country status, which you can do. So it would just say English, and then you were saying domain name.com for that specific page equals FR if it was in French, for example. So you'd be leaving out the country, but you would just be specifying this is English language, this is French, this is German for the specific, you know, language pages. But you're going to run into an issue here with your hreflang, because your .us, you're going to say English USA, but then what do you do for all the other countries in that sense? You can't say .com English and then list it as UK, .com English and list it as for Australia, .com English. Do you see what I mean? So you kind of, you know, you could do it. You could say domain US English and for USA, and then you could say .com .es English, but leave out the country specifier across all your pages. I haven't tested that, but I'm pretty sure that hreflang implementation will throw up an error in your search console, guaranteed. And the other flip side is it may or may not be respected by Google, or even Google may not actually understand what you're doing. So that is the issue I think you're going to run into.
Yeah, I think in this situation, what I would do is mark up .com as X default, and then .us as en-us. That way, if it's not en-us, then it will use the X default for all other language and geolocation combinations.
That's not bad, but I would say a lot of people are selecting US English, and a lot of devices will come out with US English. What about, I was just thinking the simplest answer would be, sorry for me, going into Google Search Console and just doing the country targeting selection for the .us domain. Again, no guarantee of it splitting it out. And a second one would be hosting the sites in 2 different jurisdictions, so keeping the US one in a US hosting environment and the .com in Singapore.
Yeah, I think here
it's the exact same product.
Yeah, I think what Maria wants to do is essentially use the substitution thing for the hreflang, so that if someone is looking for the site in US, then the US site will show, not the .com site. And if any .com page would have ranked for that query, then it'd be substituted with the equivalent US page. So that's, in a sense, that's just looking at the search side of things, not the user side of things, as it were, because people may prefer to look at the US site, even if they're outside the US, and even if the browser setting, language setting, etc., is not en-US, but they may like to look at the US page, for example. That's a possibility. So I think that there are separate things going on at the moment. One is that, how do you deal with the search results? And then the next question is, how do you deal with user expectation and user flow, as it were? And, is the user going to really expect the difference between US and non-US site? Or would you like to give them a choice? So if let's say if they're looking in the UK, hreflang works so that all the results will show the .com site results. Now, if the content is exactly the same or more or less the same, then perhaps there's no incentive. But if there are slight differences, but significant enough for people to choose the US site, are you giving the user the choice to go to the US version of that page?
Thank you, Mr. Taki. All right, let's move to the next. From MQ Kilji, it's titled, is there any other fast way to check that a migration from HTTP to HTTPS went well? And also verify that there is no redirect issue. I'm using http status.io to check each URL.
Going through URL by URL would be pretty crazy. I just go, there's plenty of great checklists out there. Maybe we can throw a couple of links up. Because if you go through everything properly, it should migrate fine, and it might take a little bit of time or a few days, but I don't know if you need to go link by link, open to the foot to the floor.
Yeah, you can, instead of doing it individually, use Screaming Frog or SEMrush or something along those lines to spy the whole site and see what's happening. So yes, if you're looking for if the question is there a quicker way of doing this than using http status.io, then yes, there are at least two. I wouldn't just do the checking at the time of migration and look at HTTP and HTTPS and www and non-www. I would keep both sites up and check the site that has been migrated from to see if there's any traffic appearing there that should be redirected using the redirects you set up. So yeah, if you set up your net to redirect traffic, make sure there aren't too many large holes in it. I think this is something we could spend all afternoon talking about, but I think that's probably sufficient to answer the question.
Yeah, and I'd just add on Jason Munn's comment on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. He said, take the XML sitemap and search and replace HTTPS with HTTP. And put that list of URLs into Screaming Frog in list mode, and export the redirect change report. Okay, let's tweet that and we'll be gone. We have a question from Sarika Reddy, who experienced a dip in traffic after migrating to HTTPS. Sarika said, I know there are mixed feelings on if there will be a dip in traffic in the interim. Some say there will be a dip for a while before it comes back, and others have not seen any dip after the change. We have a lot of backlinks, and I'm assuming that maybe the link juice flow from the backlinks is taking time. We had a 20% dip, and it's been 15 to 20 days, and slowly we are seeing it go down a little bit. Is there anything that we need to do to get the backlinks link juice regained back to the link's previous strength? Has anyone had this problem and tried to speed up things?
From the description, it sounds like migration has gone awry somewhere, because the poster suggests that there was a dip, immediate dip after the migration. That would suggest the migration going wrong, because if it were the transition and that the link, and if it were the backlinks, then it would take some time for that to get through, because Google won't be immediately recrawling absolutely every single page on the site. The fact that there's a dip, sort of a clear, sharp drop, would suggest migration going wrong. So that's where I would look at first. And if there are absolutely no issues with a migration, then I would look into other possible causes. But from the description, I would examine the migration.
Thank you, Mr. Taki. Anybody else? Okay, let's move forward. We're 5 questions into a run list of 19. Neil Cheeseman asked a question titled Moving Content that is already indexed and ranking from one URL to another. Neil went on to ask, when moving content that is already indexed and ranking from one URL to another, internal housekeeping, brackets, Which is the best way? One, create a new URL, add a redirect and canonical from the old URL to the new one, and leave the old forwarded URL until the new URL is ranking, and then submit the old URL for removal. Two, create a new URL, add redirect, and immediately submit old URL for removal. And he said also, or three, open to suggestions. I'd like to thank our forum heroes for their diligence in answering questions through the week. It's appreciated. I did notice, I think it was Richard Hearn, but Richard said, under no circumstances would you delete the original URL. Leave that as much up there as much as possible. Any comments on this one?
I'd like to jump in with at a strategy level first. If it's an acquisition or it's a site that's got lovely content on it that looks nice, I would suggest keeping it there because you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, especially if it's an acquisition. The purpose of acquiring that asset was because of the traffic that it generates, and it's just too much of a risk, I think, to try and just suck the content in. I'd rewrite it and have two websites, two assets potentially ranking. So, I just wanted to put that out there first. But then the second, the second scenario would be that you're wanting to do the migration because you want that old asset to die. You want that brand to just disappear. In which case, I would be looking at keeping the URL permanently and keeping all the canonicals in place forever, because the opportunity cost is nearly nil. It's less than $100 a year registration and hosting.
Yep. Okay, let's tweet that and be on. Hope that's useful to you, Neil. Too.
Yeah, may I just quickly? Sorry, may I just say on the last one, moving content. The idea of leaving all these URLs live, all these pages live once the content's gone elsewhere, makes me shudder. I've been working on a WordPress site which was migrated from another CMS, I can't remember which, about a year ago. And there are several layers of aging content, some of which have been tweaked, and some of them are on slightly different looking pages, and it goes on and on and on and on. And I've had to I've had to spider it all and do some jiggery pokery with some spreadsheets to end up with the list of live pages against those that are somehow stuck in the past. And it not only does it do your brain in, but it also means that your database in your CMS is clogged up with a load of stuff that shouldn't be there. So there may be some performance issues coming from all these old pages if you leave enough of them to accumulate. Get rid of them. That's why I've got a banner here, if you can see it. It's my banner for the week.
Just going back to the question, I'm confused by the suggestion number 1. Create new URL, add redirect and canonical and old to new, and leave the old forwarded until the new is ranking, and then submit the old for removal. Because if you do redirect, then that should take care of it in most cases, right? And the only way you could add a redirect and rel canonical on the old one would be the HTTP header, right? Can you do that? I'm not 100% sure. Can you redirect and add the canonical link in the header response at the same time? So let's say someone types in an old URL, it's 301 redirected to a new one. In the header, can you specify not just the 301 redirect destination, but also the canonical address? I suppose you can, but I'm just thinking about this aloud.
I was going to say, you could just do it with an htaccess file. So you strip out all the content, move to the new site, just keep a one-pager up, going with, concept number 1. So you just keep a one-pager up, which says, oh, we've moved, we're all over here now. And in that one-pager, it's all in the htaccess, just a big, long list of redirects. So, the page header, you don't even need the page headers. You're just literally just running the htaccess file to redirect everything. And then you're only hosting one page ongoing, and that's what I meant before about it being a very low cost to keep it up. And then that redirect list is permanent, and it's always there, and it's always going to point, so that it's a catch-all. If there's thousands of pages, they've got a lot of history, and not all of them were indexed, and I'd just keep that one page up with htaccess file. Is my answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alistair. All right, and thank you, Masataki. Let's go, and David Roseanne too. Thank you. Brian Michael wants to repost an article he wrote on Reddit onto his website. Wants to know if that would be a duplicate content issue.
Well, in theory, yes. It would be, and the Reddit would probably still rank above yours anyway. So what I would do is, can you edit Reddits after you've? I think you can. What I would probably do is, on your site, give a slightly different version of it, why you wrote it, blah, 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 blah. But on the Reddit, then have a link going to yours. The Reddit, 9 times out of 10, especially if it's been very popular, will outrank your site. If it hasn't proved popular, there's no comments on it, there's nothing on it, chuck it across to yours and then just delete it, because you can't canonicalize or anything like that. I doubt, yeah. What you could also then do is just have a slightly different title, change your intro into it, have the same article, but have a link from the Reddit going back to yours. It's not ideal. Next time you do that, I would certainly publish on your site and then give a shorter intro kind of thing on Reddit, and saying, check out the full article kind of thing. I would do it that way. You want people on your site, not the other way around, essentially. But it has its dues. But yeah, not the ideal way of going around. I don't think if you use the same title, same content, the Reddit one will naturally, I'm assuming, appear above yours. But yours will probably appear somewhere there. I don't think it's going to ultimately be filtered out. I think yours will still appear somewhere on that page. I think the Reddit will still appear above yours. So not ideal.
Right. Anybody else? Okay. I agree with that. Let's move on to the next. This one's number 7 from JL Faverio. JL said, is there a recommended percentage of links pointing to your inner pages compared to how many pages a website has? He's meaning that if his website has 100 pages, should the average number of links on a page point to 10 or 10% of inner pages? I think the answer is definitely no. Don't do that.
So, Jim, is this how it works?
I think it's 47.2, isn't it?
I'm sorry, Alistair, what was that?
I said, is this how this works, Jim? You take the easy ones and give the definite answer?
Well, look, I'm old, and
he does if we don't mute him quickly enough.
All right. Can we have an expert's opinion on this? Then I'll stay out.
I'll give it a shot and say that I wouldn't get bogged down in this at all. Instead, if you go about your work and working with other companies and posting, and then linking it to the very best page and the most relevant content that you have relevant to that work that you're doing, and don't think about it. Just go naturally, and you'll get a result. I think this is an example of over SEO, where if you think about it too much, you could actually spoil your own broth. And you just go natural, au natural, and you should get the win.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Question for Jennifer Denny. I tell you what, Jim, it's very pleasant to see so many of the feminine gender on our question list. Anyway, I think it's great. Jennifer asks, is capturing organic traffic by way of YouTube videos part of your SEO strategy? Why or why not?
Sometimes would be the answer. It's been used very successfully in some websites I've been involved with, but Jim, please don't. I know this is boring, but don't yawn at me.
How can you tell? Can you see me?
No. I can see you yawning. Yes, just as I got into that, there was the world's biggest yawn.
I'm sorry about that.
Sorry. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Yes, it's been used very it's been used very successfully with a car recovery website that I was involved with a while back, because there were a lot of very good informational videos that could be taken and put up on the website. You know, what to do if you get a flat tire by the side of the motorway. You know, go and get away from the car quickly. Or, you know, here is how you change the car, or here is what you need to check in your beneath your bonnet once a week, once a month, etc., etc. And I think that, you know, if there's a real good reason or there's a real good fit, yes, do it. It's a good thing. If it's going to be a real grind to find a reason to do these things and to make something worth watching, do something else. So I think it depends on the business.
Yes, it's one thing to make a YouTube video. It's another to get people to watch it. I can't remember the stat, but it was just an enormous stat, the amount of YouTube videos being uploaded every hour. And David, you're yawning at me. All right, Jennifer.
Jim, I heard that there's an hour of content uploaded every second. Or was it every minute? No, it'd be every second.
It would be every second. Yeah, it's just amazing. It really is. Okay. Right. Does anybody else have any response for Jennifer?
Yeah, I'll answer in my usual holistic way, and just piggybacking exactly what David said a different way. Holistic in the sense that if the art of making the videos is itself bringing new customers and having a positive effect, then that's going to have a knock-on effect with your organic SEO ranking, because if someone likes the video and then they're sharing the video, or they write an email about it to someone and then Google picks up the link that's in the email, and your remarketing kicks in and everything else. So exactly what David said, when it is a profitable venture and a worthwhile enterprise, do it, and then you'll see the SEO benefits. But if it's about trying to deliberately publish something for the sake of getting keywords to rank and for video to rank, I don't think it will be successful. So horse before the cart, make it. If it's an enterprise, if it's a valuable enterprise, then do it, and then you'll get the benefit afterwards.
Thank you. Okay, let me tweet that, and we'll move to the next. Number 9 on our run list from Job and John: can changing web hosting cause a fall in rankings? Job went on to ask, is there a guide somewhere on this topic? Basically, the right way to do this.
The answer is a resounding yes. Hosting is still a really important part of the mix. If you're in what we call a bad neighborhood, where you're sharing a hosting environment with other sites that are shady characters, then it can affect your website in that sense. So the act of changing web hosting itself shouldn't cause any fall in rankings, but it's the hosting environment that you're on or moving to. And because Google's really putting an emphasis on speed and usability of the site, the better the hosting environment you can get onto and afford, the better, period. Faster, bigger, dedicated server, at the very end. It's a one-way street that way.
Yep. Okay, well, I think that sums up the entire issue. Let's go to the next. This one is from Christopher Chorley. Christopher has a question titled, if you know index pages or tags, would you still put them in the sitemap? Not needed. If you, yeah, that's his entire question.
No.
No, I wouldn't.
If I've no indexed my tags, I wouldn't bother.
I think you're going to say the same thing, David, were you? Yep.
And that Tim said it far more eloquently than I would.
We only need a chat. Yeah, all right. Here we go. This one from Alina Mila. Struggling with my main goal, link building. Alina said, hi, and thanks for letting me in. Just like every newbie, I do struggle with my main goal, link building. I've read tons of articles on the topic, and they all sound the same. Skyscraper techniques, guest posts, content. I do believe it might work for some, but for something, it's a waste of time. First, the most important, the website I'm working on cannot offer a blog. Second, most of the blogs and sites in our niche do not accept guest posting, or at least they want someone super famous. So how to get backlinks? We aim at .edu links, and we can offer access to our database for the students. I've researched a few universities, and it's quite hard to determine who to approach and the way of approach, or the method of approach. How to write an appealing cold email. Any advice? Thanks in advance.
Okay, so there are a couple of things out there on how to, on how to approach it in terms of writing, cold emails. We just Google search them. There's quite a few good ones. For me personally, link building like that and outreach. There's very, very, very few times now that I do outreach in that sense. Essentially, people got so used to it. The way I approach it now is by putting the client, any one of their sites as the authority in that kind of market. Now, you say you don't have a blog, so you can't attract links in that sense. So that's going to be very difficult for you. If you don't have a blog, how can you create anything that's worthy of people linking to? Right? So your other options, and think about this. So if you can't create something that somebody would want to share or link to, and you outreach to them for something, what are you outreaching for? I mean, why would they link to you? Because if there is already something on your site that is worthy of linking to, a link means, hey, guys, look at this. Check it out. What are you outreaching for? So you need to start thinking in terms of how can I work with my site that doesn't have a blog, where I can't create any content that people would want to link to? Can I create other resources that work with the site that can be linked to, which would ultimately then go back to the site? So now you've mentioned something about, other universities. So I'm assuming you're some kind of university site. Can you start looking at other resources in the sense of other kind of research papers, student stuff that you can publish on a specific section of the site? Something that would start creating a resource that people want to actually link to. Can you rework the site? Because, and that, ultimately you don't want to have to be spending your life on outreach. You want people to link to you, because you offer something of value. So look at other research. Can you create, I don't know what field you're in, so it's difficult to say, but, can you be looking at, educational YouTube vids or something? Create a series of stuff that can be marketed then via your social profiles to user groups, which would ultimately, within your YouTube link back to the site. Can you, look at, social in the sense of creating a specific kind of format where you would attract the kind of people that obviously you're looking to attract, create a one-stop shop for them in a social group, almost like a blog. But then, of course, ultimately it ends up linking to your property. Can you use other things, Reddit and Quora, to provide in-depth, stuff for the, whatever topic or whatever part of the university site that you are working on. So ultimately, I want you to think this way. The best links obviously are natural links, and that's what you, in theory, are trying to create by saying, blogs or outreach. You want to create the impression that this is a natural link linking back to your site. But the point being is, do you want to be stuck into a cycle of loop of constantly trying to scratch your head and reach out to people? So the point here is you need to create something that people want into, because linking to something is either them and they want to share that, or they've got a great resource and said, this is where I'm referencing my article from. This is a reference, or whatever the case may be. So I would strongly urge you just to rethink your link building tactic there and start actually looking at how to attract links.
Yeah, and tacking on to that, there's excellent points. I just don't see why there can't be a blog, because it sounds like there's a database to which students have access to. And so what do they do with the data? So what do they use the data for? And surely you can write case studies about how the students found out XYZ by using this database. That would be a good blog post. Or that you're offering these, and these are the potential user cases. Then again, that's a good blog post. So by explaining the product, by explaining the potentials of the product, I think there are a lot of content that can be created. And that's going to be very specific. That would be something that people will be looking for. And so long as they're very helpful for the needs of those students, they're likely to link to those resources. So I would start to think, yeah, what do I have and what can I write about that? You don't have to have a famous name to write about it. Not necessarily, because you might be just saying, this is how you're going to use this data set, for example. So I think there are things that you can do, and perhaps you might have shut down the idea of blog, just dismissed it out of hand, when there may be a scope for it.
May I jump in with a holistic approach?
Sure.
Right. So I've got a real new age approach to it these days, which is it's the art of link building without link building. If you're coming from the mindset of, right, I need to get links, and reading all these tactics and getting yourself bogged down in that, you might not get very far. And even worse, I think you're focusing on the wrong goal. Instead, if you look to thinking to yourself, well, I'm going to go and reach out to other people in my sector, in my industry, leaders, and just talk to them, get them on the phone. Don't worry about cold emails going, oh, look, I'll link to you back, That's 1990s. Get involved with the people that you want to work with, and talk about a campaign or an offer that you can present their readers, and just bring it back to what the other guys have been saying, the content that you have that's valuable, the data that you've got that's valuable to their audience, and just talk about working together. And as a result of that, if it's meant to be, they'll link to you. And so if you go about the art, if you go about the goal of just trying to get involved and work with other people, the links will follow. So as you can tell, this is my theme for the night, I think, is the art of SEO without thinking too much about the SEO side.
No, I wouldn't be apologising for what you're saying. It is so true. Everybody's looking for a magic bullet, when really it's a matter of being systematic and methodical. Or at least I think so anyway. Although there's always an exception to the rule. I mean, look at Tim Capper. We've been joined by Micah Fisher-Kirshner. Micah is head of SEO at Turn River Capital, formerly at Zazzle and Zendesk.com. Okay, let's tweet that. Edvinus Posniakis asked a question titled Canonical URL for Duplicated Pages. He said, website has 2 pages with the same content. One of them is generating 500 organic traffic per month. The other is generating 200 organic traffic per month. The pages had the same title, same heading, same content, just different category. Should I use the canonical tag on one of them, make pages with more traffic primary, or should I leave everything as it is and be happy with my 700 traffic from these pages? P.S. Let's forget that we can create unique content for both pages. I want to know the answer to this specific situation.
So based on the comments as well, I'm more in agreement with Alan on this, and that's essentially you've essentially established kind of the duplicate content for the 2 pages. I would put in a 3-1 redirect, as the canonical is a bit more suggestive and, well, easier generally to implement. You want to make sure it's hard, solid, and saying it needs to merge here. To Richard Hearn's point about the potentially the backlink categorization of them, I kind of would, in most situations, I would probably still merge the 2 together. I don't prefer having something that similar, or literally the exact same as separate. It's probably not the worst in the world if they're left separate, since they're not a huge, like it's only 2 pages essentially together. But I would consider that you're more likely to gain more out of it by merging the 2, given that it's a little more likely of a situation where Google is unsure about which 2 pages to rank and kind of flips back and forth. But as suggested, you can take a look at the keyword set that they rank for, look at the anchor text, and the type of sites that are linking to those 2 different pages, and make the judgment call for your situation. But I'd 3-1 redirect personally.
Yep. Anybody else? All right, let me tweet that. We can move on. Okay, so Varun Kumar Riat asked the question titled, how should I master keyword research? Varun said, hi everyone, I am a newbie in keyword research and the tool I use for it is AdWords Keyword Planner. So if I'm searching for keywords for just the main page, best marketing company India, then this is the Google autocomplete suggestion. And the second is AdWords Planner result. So the problem I'm facing while doing keyword research is if these results showed 0 or 0 in Keyword Planner, but 5 results with Google autocomplete, what words should I choose? And I should give 5 final keywords for 1 page or more. I'm getting really lost here. Also, if the keyword should have more than 50,000 searches in the Keyword Planner, it should be avoided. How should I master keyword research?
So if you want to get down to the basis of this, you should know your business. So I think, I can't remember what he said his initial one was, best marketing agency. I don't know. So, you know, ultimately, what do you do? What do you offer? You know, what kind of marketing do you do? Do you do guerrilla marketing? Do you do online marketing? Do you do YouTube marketing? Do you do social marketing? Do you do offline? Do you do magazine, print? You know, so you need to break it down. You can't just, you know, keyword suggestions on best marketing company. So let's just say, for argument's sake, there were 10 different kind of suggestions for best marketing company. Well, how are you going to incorporate that into your content on your homepage? You know, just like, I just wish people would start thinking logically about these things, right? I mean, where are you going to, you know, you need to have it on your page, you know, and then you start breaking it down into what you offer. What does your marketing company offer? The India bit is pretty simple because you have your address in the footer, structured data markup, that's incorporated into that. You obviously have a Google business page, then Google knows you're in frickin' India, okay? But what do you offer? What marketing do you offer? You have your specific categories, and then you can start breaking that down. So, for example, let's say you do magazine, or let's say you do online marketing. So your top line would be, right, for one section will be online marketing. Well, what kind of facets in that do you break down? Do you do social? Do you do YouTube? Do you, you know, and each one of those can be broken down. Do you do, you know, video, guerrilla marketing, et cetera, and each one then gets broken down into a specific, you know, sections within that. You know, just really start thinking logically about what you offer before you can actually say, well, right, I want to start target, you know, 5,000 keywords. Well, on what? On best marketing? You know, and then essentially, once you've got your site done, your company, your brand, your business, what you offer, and break that down strategically and all the information so that the user can actually make a purchasing decision based upon what you say you provide, you know, at least picking up the phone or emailing you. Then you can start using articles in the sense of targeting longer things, more nuanced, you know, more nuanced content within all of those different sections. So I think you need to understand your, you know, break it down into what you offer, and then start looking at keyword research in terms of what you know, more nuanced and more definitive things, rather than just marketing company. I mean, if you don't know what kind of a marketing company you are, well then, mate, I can't help you.
Brutal.
Go ahead.
I think, go ahead? Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think another way of looking at this is from understanding your customers, your potential customers. And we hear a lot these days about searcher intent. In other words, is the person who's making this search on marketing companies likely to be looking for your marketing company? Let's say your marketing company happens to be a social media marketing company. Now, what percentage of those people looking for a marketing company are likely to be looking for a social media marketing company? And you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to get ranked for marketing, for best marketing company. You're going to find it less difficult to rank for best social media marketing company. So you've got this old short and long tail idea. It's only really worth looking for, looking to target key phrases that are going to bring the right sort of people to your site. People who are actually going to think about engaging you in whatever you do or buying whatever you're offering. If you forget that and you're just looking for huge volumes of people, well, okay, the only thing you'll do is end up spending a lot of money on bandwidth. So be very clear about what your target market, the people you're selling to, are likely to be looking for, and be as exact as you can. It's not about having 5,000 people saying yes but no. That's not really what I'm looking for. It's about 5 people saying yes. Can we have a meeting? So be exact with your key phrase research, and think about how much effort it will take to rank for the key phrases you've got. There are plenty of tools out there. SEMrush, as we normally mention around here, does that. It gives you a number that says how tough ranking for that key phrase is likely to be. So you can get a feel for, is this one likely to be a pain in the bum, and is this one a comparatively less populated niche? So yeah, think about fit and think about comparative difficulty, and forget about big numbers of searches. They ain't going to get you they ain't going to get you very far.
I've got a funny story to tell you guys, everybody, that really dovetails nicely with what both Tim and David just said, and that was, we were once hired to de-optimize a page because it was accidentally appearing for a large, broad keyword, and they had to de-optimize for it because it was just putting too much strain on the resources of the company with just a lot of time wasters, and it was just way off base. And so the mission was to get that off the page. And I think it's just a nice way to finish on this education from these guys, because you probably wouldn't want anything super, super broad like that.
Thank you, Alistair. And on that note, we will move on to the next, unless anybody wants to jump in. Okay, our next is number 14 on our run list, a pretty link versus a messy link. Here's something I'm in two minds about now. A prospect has a URL that goes like this: domain.tld/index.php/page name. It's not very aesthetic, but I'm especially wondering how much of a difference it would make for SEO when they get rid of the index.php in the URLs. Are there any case studies or opinions?
A quick opinion is pretty's better than ugly. It should be completely unnecessary. Google will know that the index is referring to the homepage. It's redundant, and yeah, it'll be better to be neater. I'm out.
Within SEO, there's opinions everywhere, so don't you ever worry about that. Yeah, I'm basically in agreement on that with Alistair. To go a little bit more on that, I would say that if you can get it changed, I personally would. I see it as even confusing for users if they're having to type something like that in. I think it was mentioned in the comments that, like, when you see something like .php, that implies that's the end of the page. Like, that is the page. After that, you're using parameters to kind of say, here are some modifications to said page. So it breaks a bit of the nomenclature, or kind of the standard setup of what people expect, and kind of the same thing would go in theory for Googlebot and trying to understand the structure of your site. Now, I think obviously Google can get it. I don't think it's going to be the biggest issue on the whole. But if there was an opportunity at the right time to get these fixed and redirected in the right way, I would go for that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Doesn't this happen with certain WordPress implementation or mistakes in implementation? So when there's an index.php / page name, it is a different page from the home page.
Yeah, not WordPress, but it's one of the other CMSs, and that's just broken, but that'll be it. If you're stuck with that.
Yeah, because I've seen it a few times, and I think that was on WordPress, but probably it moved from the other CMS. I think that might have been the cause of it. But that's I've seen a few of those, and then I thought, how does that work? Search engines don't seem to have issues with that, but because then they would show different results. I mean, these different pages would be treated as different pages and shown as such. But yeah, I would fix it.
Thank you, Mr. Turkey. I think we've pretty well covered this. Let's move on to number 15. From Nisongo Pothic, is there more advantage? What are the advantages of an exact domain match? I think it's my best interpretation of that. Nisongo says, I'm curious to know, for a niche site, the SEO benefits of exact domain match and non-exact domain match. Is there more advantage in exact domain match?
Thank you. Okay, look, exact match domains still work, and it also depending on where you are in the world, because Google has different things. The question you need to ask yourself: am I building a brand? Am I building a brand and a business that I want to have long-term longevity? Because will people remember something like pink fluffy elephants.com, or would they remember something like buy the best pink fluffy elephants.com? It's about building a brand. My brand name, Online Ownership, it has nothing to do. I haven't chucked in SEO into it. I haven't chucked in anything else into it. And it does just fine because I've built the brand for long-term recognition. So the question there in your mind is, what do you want to achieve, and do you want to build a brand and a business? I wouldn't go, so that's as much it. There are some things where, let's say you're in a specific location and you've already got the brand name. Yeah, okay, maybe throwing in, because you're in a franchise, for example. Let's say you're in a franchise and you've bought a franchise, like I don't know, 7-Eleven or something, and you want to do a website, but you want to differentiate yourself. Yeah, you can add the location into it. So 7-Eleven London, into the domain name or whatever. And you want to differentiate yourself. So yeah, but really think about the brand you want to build, and the business. If you're not interested in that, yeah, fine. You'll get some and also it depends where you are. If you're a local business, exact match domain is like the #1 freaking spam thing out there, and it still works 100% of the time with an exact match business name for the location and the service you provide. Unfortunately, Google My Business still uses that, and So, you know, take all these things into account, you know, location, your business, what is it? Is it a general online? Is it a local business? And, you know, just, yeah, weigh it all up on what you want to do. I don't think there's a yes or a no to this, because I think the question is, what do you want to achieve?
Well, I think, Tim, you've given a white hat and black hat answer in one, and you must always put, so you must always put the brand first and build that. And to some extent, you think about it, what credibility does an exact match keyword domain give someone? If it's like buy purple monkey dishwashers online.com, it actually would more likely give a signal to a customer of, uh-oh, this sounds a little dodgy. It looks unreal. But on the black hat side, we were talking about this before the session today, Google unfortunately still has a bias for exact match domains when you're wanting to do a local listing. So if you were wanting to come up for Purple Monkey Dishwasher London, and that domain was there, and you could register that, and you build a proper website for it, and then you register that with Google My Business, then you can get the ultimate shortcut to the top of Google with getting the local listing appearing on the right-hand side. But it's that's the side play. The main business is the main business, and it's got nothing to do with jamming keywords into the domain, because it's got to be memorable. It's got to be distinguished. But you could always do that one on the side.
Thank you, Alison. All right, let's move on. I'm a bit concerned. Tim Capper's happier. You know, I don't know why there is. Cause for alarm. All right.
He knows he'll get everyone going to him to get their local page listed, see, so it's just more business. Yeah.
All right, another question from MQ Kilji. It's titled The Length of Meta Description. He asks, why are some of the meta descriptions so short, less than 155 characters, and some are too long, more than 155 characters? I want to write more for my meta description. Please help me. I am dying.
So Google is testing, and they still do, you know, and they're testing, continue testing. And you will see, you know, in some search results, you'll see a longer meta description, and not always position 1s or 2s. Occasionally, you know, you'll see like something on a position 9 with a really enlarged meta description. It's like, huh? Anyway, but I believe Google is increasing it, or has increased it, and I don't know what to. Is it 300 or something? Let's check.
While you're doing that, I want to say that the purpose of a meta description is to invite a click-through. Don't think about a meta description anymore about optimizing a page or a result. It's about getting the click-through. And in that sense, shorter is better. You just need to get right home on the point. And, you know, if you go, oh, I'm going to try and get more on here, and, you know, sometimes Google displays it with 200 characters, sometimes 250, but then other times it might change and it's only showing that 155 or 156 characters again. You know, you don't want to take that risk. Get your point made as succinctly as possible. It's to invite someone to click on the thing. Shorter is better.
Yeah.
See that the new apparent thing is 230 characters. So, you know, if you want to go for it, you know, I've seen a lot of people going, oh, I'm going to increase mine all now to 230 characters, blah, blah, blah. To be perfectly honest, you know, I've got so used to getting to the point in meta descriptions over the last, you know, 20 frickin' years that I still think, you know, it looks better. It's there. People don't have to read through 3 lines. And, you know, in mobile, it goes down to like 5 lines. They don't have to read the whole frickin' thing now. You know, literally, you're getting to the point. Boom. You know, best room rate guaranteed on the beach. Boom. Job done. So, yeah, you know, before you go crazy, you look at the page and look what you want to say on that page. If it's a product, be succinct. If it's a blog article, yeah, you can drag them into that first paragraph, drag them in, make the point, and then, you know, the typical sort of, you know, journalistic kind of writing, you know, get the hook out, cast the line, and then, you know, making them want to click. If it's a product itself, then, you know, do you really need to say we're the best, when in theory you should be, obviously, anyway. But, you know, price, secure, you know, next day delivery or same day delivery, these are what the people want to know. And you can do that in far less than 230 characters.
Fair enough, Tim.
I can't believe I missed that update entirely. That it's I'm reading on WordStream. Yeah, I had no idea that the characters have been increased by that much.
Well, yeah, they're playing with them all the time, and they're not displaying all the time. Yeah, I mean, you've probably noticed that sometimes you get this really long thing, and other days
like you over the years, we've refined the process to try and get as succinct as possible, and you know, the actual value of a meta description in the ranking as a factor is just tiny. It's infinitesimal now. So I've been oblivious to it because I just see it as a sales thing now. But yeah, unbelievable.
Yep. Okay.
I wonder if Yoast SEO has changed its number counts, because people are going to start sweating over this if they've got WordPress.
They haven't changed the, you know, in Yoast, if you do just a single line and it still stays with the number, and then when you go into the second line, then it goes into green. They haven't changed the initial limit, but they have increased the character limit.
No.
So that amber limit, people would have been like, fucking hell, like I've got to write. But they haven't. They've been very clever in that. They've kept the bare minimum, the additional. And of course, there has to be an updated plugin. You have to update old plugins. They're still going to show old. New ones will obviously show the newer one.
Tim and David, I just went on to Yoast and they published an update on the 20th of December. So only, you know, less than a month ago, or just over a month ago. And you may have noticed Google has updated search snippets longer. In the past, it showed up to 160 characters. Now it can be much longer. We're currently researching what this means. We're also changing the SEO recommendations for meta description length in expectation of the results of this research. So it sounds like they're still working through that, but maybe we can expect an update from Yoast on that front.
Yeah. No, Alex,
we're going to read like 6,000 pages
earlier this week. Yeah, I didn't notice it earlier this week when I was messing about with descriptions on a client site. Sorry, editing descriptions on a client site. I just had a horrible feeling that I'd missed an update on Yoast, and I would have to go and put it all back again. You know what it's like.
Yeah. Okay, Christopher Chorley, he wants to know your thoughts on guest posting. He said, I mean, if you're creating an outreach campaign and you get 10 links at once, is that okay? Of course it is. As for your opinions, cheers.
Yeah, mate, no problem. You can get 100,000 at once. No worries. Google understands it. You know, they can see where it's come from, how it's generated. You know, if you've created some brilliant freaking thing and it goes viral and it's linked to all over the place and it's mentioned and it's, and within a week, there's, 1 million links pointing to you. Google understands it. They can see it. They can, see the progression and who's shared and what, and it's fine.
Have I gone silent? Can you guys hear me? Oh,
yeah, I've stopped talking, mate.
Sorry, I thought I'd frozen there. Okay. I'll go to the next. This one from Juliana Cronrod. I'll tell you what, all these girls are coming in, getting their questions answered. I know I'll get Tim Capper back here next week. Anyway, Juliana Cronrod asked the question on a root domain canonical question. Would it matter if the trailing slash is used or not? The rest of the site defaults to no slash. Thanks. I see Dave Elliott said yes, slash matters. Or it, as the case is. Richard Hearn said, no, slash doesn't matter in the case of the root domain. It does matter for any other inner resource on a domain, but not the root page. And he gives a link to the spec. Any comments from anybody?
No, I think that's sorted.
All right, David Rozam wants to know, how was the president's dinner last night, Tim? What does he mean by that? Nothing? Okay. All right, let's go onward and upward.
It's a UK type news story at the moment. I don't think it's found its way to the outback yet.
Yeah, but the president is coming to the UK.
No, it's a top businessmen in the UK go to the president's dinner annually to raise raise money for the for various charities, and then there's an after party that Tim very much likes, where there's lots of I was going to say underhanded activities, but it's rather a bad pun. No, all joking aside, it seems to be yet another story of those in power trying to have their way with those who are not in power. I wonder if that's is that a good description of it? Anyway, lots of captains of industry like our Tim trying to have their way.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tim is dedicated to his research, for his work in the locksmith industry, and that's why he's always there when the bar is locked up.
I'm trying. Oh, I thought I was actually succeeding saying you're a pervert. Anyway, enough of this.
No, Tim, I'm not trying to say you're a pervert. Not at all. Anyway, all right. It's that time again. Thank you for watching. We've answered all of the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and also the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group.
Did we?
Back at the same time. Did someone want to say something?
Yeah. Have we dealt with question number 19 on the list?
Okay, I can go back to that.
Oh. There is a question 19 on the list.
Well, hang on a minute. I'll go back to. Patty Mantelins. I must have clicked the button. Sorry about that. Okay. This one's a philosophical question. Thank you for bailing me out here, Masataki. Wonders if disavows from numerous sources could hurt a website's trust with Google.
I hope so. I hope that the sites that I've disavowed get taken down. You know, it seems to me like Google was crowdsourcing on that one to get a bit of assistance with finding the shady characters. And that's all I had.
But would they have the manpower to you know, I mean, Google prefers automation.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you've got millions of webmasters all over the world doing disavows, then, you know, surely the automated process takes over from there, and it's fielding that feedback from the community to go, these are bad sites, these are bad links, and then it would negatively affect those sites. I'd expect. And pretty cool feedback loop, you know, because you can't have manual editors within the Google machine. So I've always loved the disavow feature because without it, you'd just be grinding your teeth all day.
Yeah, Jim, I hear they've got a couple of these things. I think they're called Apple IIs over there now. They can use it for processing data, I hear.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say to you, but I'm not sure. I don't want to be insulting to Apple. They're great things to put on the mantelpiece or on the coffee table. But, you know, I don't think they're practical to actually use, are they, David? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's Altairs they have then.
Anyway, I hope Paddy is happy with the answer to his question. All right. Let's wrap this broadcast up and come back next week to do it all again. I see that we still have eyeballs watching us, and we thank you. We thank you most sincerely. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and your participation is important. We'll be back next week to do this again, and but for now, it's good night.